Shariot owes $180 million and now faces restructuring. This was after Blue SG's sudden closure back in August. And Wan Yang, a 14-year-old massage chain, has suddenly closed down, owing customers $29,000. And 12 Cupcakes and Jollibean also did the same thing just a month or two earlier and closed down all outlets suddenly, surprising even their employees. And the list of business closing shop for good goes on. Manhattan Fish Market, Gong Cha, the Prive Group, Ka-Soh, Artwork, Cathay Cinemas, Isetan, or at least the Tampines Mall branch, and even the 50-plus-year-old Miramar Hotel. It's like week after week, we read stories of these prominent businesses gone all in just this year, 2025. Just like that. So since there's like just a few days left in 2025, I feel I have to do this video before it's too late. Now this is after a Facebook post that I put up a few days back which went a bit viral. And because that post was crafted in a largely negative tone with so many people supporting the views that I put out, right? It really makes me think that 2025 was a bad year. But not only that, this is probably going to drag into 2026 too. Anyway, as I said, many people supported that post. Now, in fact, random people started sharing my post, people whom I don't know. And you know, when this happens, right, it means that the average person out there is agreeing too that this year had been unkind, difficult, and perhaps even damaging for many businesses and probably many individuals as well. In fact, I would say 9 out of 10 friends, be it that they are entrepreneurs like me or working for bosses, they told me that 2025 was bad for them. I mean, just take a look at the dozens of comments from my post for the number of people agreeing with me on this too. And to be honest, right, 2025 wasn't exactly smooth for me also. Yes, I run a small business on video production, so I thought before the year ends, before it could do more damage with businesses closing, with stock market drops, and with potentially another worldwide depression coming next year, I'd like to share some views of perhaps what 2026 might look like. Now bear in mind, I'm not a big business owner making 7 or 8 figures. I'm barely struggling here to make ends meet on some months. So let me just share my predictions for 6 or maybe some lower 7-figure businesses for 2026. So basically, I see that there will be 5 main focuses for smaller business owners like us, and probably for those under employment too. So here goes. Now the first one will be on AI. No surprises here. So AI will continue to innovate and dominate at an increasing speed. What innovation and improvements that used to be updated like 6 monthly in 2023 is now progressing at a monthly pace. I mean, every month we see a new AI iteration that claims to be faster, cheaper, and more real than the competition, right? So there is no way any of us small players and individuals can play catch up. So even adopting or investing into an AI tech as a new business would seem foolish because that tech will be like outdated in months. So I see AI adoption in small businesses not to be the outward-facing type, as I call it, which is to use AI to create articles, images, or videos, or even using AI for research anymore. I think these are too fundamental already, and generative AI content will get outdated before you know it. Instead, it is the internal company processes that need to be supplemented or replaced by AI. For example, replacing my marketing team with an AI agent and even my producer with one. So these are inward-facing, as I call it, or the back of the house. So to the outside world, right, nothing has really changed. But within my business, productivity has increased, tactics execution can become more agile, and more cost is saved. And trends will seem to be a lot more relevant. So all this done with AI, right, all these things we must already adopt. Even if you are an employee or even a student. I mean, ChatGPT come out in November 2022. It's been 3 years already. And if you still don't want to start, when will you start? Okay. Second prediction: EV adoption rate in Singapore will become faster. And before you start blasting me on how like EVs will affect the business or market outlook, try to hear me out first, okay? So currently, I believe it is 6% of passenger cars here in Singapore are EVs. And 1 in every 2.5 to 2 new car purchased in 2025 has been an EV. So at the rate of EV sales to ICE car sales, it's quite possible that we'll reach something like 10 to 15% by the end of 2026, and perhaps even 30% of all cars in Singapore being EVs by 2028. So if you are not ready to adopt EVs yet, at least don't make fun of them, because you will be driving one of these sooner or later. And there's really no stopping this growth of these cars because they are cheaper to make, kinder to the environment overall, and has the support of almost all the governments in the world. So how will EVs affect businesses? Well, I see it like how the advance of motor cars affected businesses maybe 100 to 150 years ago, and it could be big. I mean, if you watch my other YouTube channel on EVs, right, I'll just leave the link somewhere above here and in the description below. And if you watch those videos, you'll understand probably that the lifestyle of EV drivers are different from that of petrol car drivers. And one simple example is that we don't treat a charging station as a destination. Like, say, when you need to pump petrol at a petrol station. Now, to us, charging our EVs is like a by-the-way kind of thing. So if we need to go to a shop for groceries, we'll drive our EV to the mall and, by the way, charge our cars there. There's no need to purposely stop by somewhere else to charge. So if your business revolves around getting car owners to go to you need to pay attention. Petrol stations, workshops, and even like F&B destinations with your own parking lots, right, are obvious places. But come 2030, when 2 or even 3 drivers out of 10 are driving an EV, you probably need to pay attention to being situated at those venues that has charging stations, or you risk losing those 30 to 40% of drivers. Third prediction, and this one is pretty obvious, especially to people like me who have recently gone to China. So yes, China will become more dominant in world affairs, especially in tech. Now, the Japanese has already lost their grounds like 2 decades ago, since the dominance in the 80s and 90s. And the American who took over had a good run from then until about 2020. So during this time, China has silently built up not only their tech, but the tech that makes the tech. So supply chains in China has become tighter and less vertical. Energy resources has become more green and plentiful, and their people are more trained. Their work culture has become even more disciplined, and efficiency has increased exponentially since. And all these, right, the world didn't see them coming until around 2023, when the US and Europe were still harping about how COVID originated from a lab in Wuhan. So even in Singapore, like I said, right, I can see many less traveled people are still harboring about how uncouth Chinese people are and how backwards their country is. And after 2 trips to China in 9 months, I can assure you that we, as in the rest of the world, are already behind China in many aspects. So China just have to get like 2 or 3 things right before they would probably control the world, metaphorically, with their technology, their people, and their knowledge. So for those of us who aren't doing it still, right, we probably have to start thinking about working with China, or at the very least, learn something from the Chinese. Now, before I continue with the 4th point, would you help me to like this video and subscribe to my channel? Because by doing so, you get notified of the subsequent videos that I'll be making on topics just like this one. And especially if you have watched this far, right, I reckon that this topic is of interest to you, right? Oh, do share this too with your self-employed and entrepreneurial friends too, so that they could benefit from this video. Okay? Done? Well, thank you very much. And let's continue with the 4th point, which I would probably get blasted a bit, especially if you're relying on digital marketing a lot in your business. Now, that's because I reckon that digital marketing will change. And in fact, it has already changed in 2024. Now, sales funnels using social media is only for the big boys with big capital to burn for ads, or at least, for those who have a consistent system still. But even for them, right, I reckon results will dwindle and costs will go up. And another point, organic social media posting, on TikTok, I think it has come to a point where 99.9% of the content is noise, meaning perhaps 1 over 1,000 posts could actually be useful for the person scrolling. And any business that is a bit digital savvy, right? They have gone into TikTok already. They have also gone into Facebook and Instagram now. So honestly, I think it is too congested to contest in those platforms. But I remain optimistic with YouTube, and I myself will triple down my efforts there, because it is one of the more challenging platforms to succeed in. And unlike TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, YouTube followers are more motivated, more loyal, and more likely to take action there. So until something else that is unforeseen will emerge in 2026, I believe YouTube will remain the leader in business communications, in sales, especially for big ticket items like car, property, causes, and also for community building and recognition. So watch my future video when I talk more about why YouTube is so crucial in your business. Okay, so do subscribe, right? Anyway, lastly, and this comes from personal experience from my hires, right, and my close friends looking for jobs. I reckon that it will be more difficult for everyone to find a good job, while at the same time, it is also more difficult to survive in the gig market. Now, as an employee myself, I'm looking for candidates who have a breadth of competencies, not just one with deep knowledge. But many job seekers will disagree with this. That's because this conundrum is from what our education system has imbued in our youth. They have been taught that specialization is the key all their life. And when the real job market rewards those who can generalize instead of specialize, they cannot accept. But among those who refuse to work wider and not necessarily more, right, there are also many who don't mind working for less benefits. So yes, there will be hungrier people. And unfortunately, like in my friends Melvin So's now viral TikTok, many of these hungrier people, they are un-Singaporeans. Now, I'm happy to share my own experiences with my ex-hires, but it will make this video way too long. So let me know if you wish to hear my stories of them. So anyway, another matter for older workers like me, decades of work experiences, or at least in my view, is becoming a commodity that ChatGPT can replace. And even if AI cannot do that, right, past experiences beyond the last 2 to 3 years, they are not relevant anymore. And paper qualifications don't matter to me, as I value personal ethics more, like a person who is keen to learn, keen to improve, and use that to help the company. So frankly, I'm increasingly less hopeful for the younger Gen Zs, as the majority of them don't possess traits that I'm looking for. And I'm also not so optimistic that Gen Xers can contribute as much as the younger generation. And looking at my first point, right, well, it is true that AI and soon robots, at the pace that they are becoming frighteningly real, will replace maybe 3 or 4 humans job out of 10. And personally, I think it's a little BS, for the higher ups to keep assuring people can just upskill to jobs that manage AI. I personally think that this was very 2023, perhaps 2024. Today in 2025 and soon in 2026, AI is building AI and AI can manage AI already. So honestly, I think washing toilets and clearing tables could become more in demand for humans. And that's really not it, as more potential job seekers, they gravitate towards becoming gig workers, right? Prices will fall. And there will be those who don't mind working for free for their portfolio. So experienced companies like mine, we will be put down, at least in terms of competitiveness and pricing. So those who haven't gotten the footing yet will find it even tougher in 2026. And for those who have though, they could still experience some form of slowdown because of the domino effect. Okay, so those are some heavy topics, right? But I am not done. Let me just share a 6-1, as a bonus. But admittedly, I could be too stupid to get this one totally wrong, as I am not an expert in this, because I'm talking about real estate. But I also think that I cannot be that stupid until I'm totally blind to all the signs happening now, right? Now you see, I personally don't believe that the real estate market here in Singapore will continue to rise. Now just think about this in this way. With every country's properties in the doldrums, how much can Singapore policymakers do if there is a worldwide depression? Now don't tell me that Singapore will be sheltered. With what? Since there's hardly a domestic market here when it comes to macroeconomics. So if prices are fueled by Singaporeans selling more expensive properties to Singaporeans, doesn't that bring about higher inflation? And with wages being stagnant, maybe even lower in 2025 and in 2026 or so, and gig workers and business owners not making money, where does the money come from for people to invest in properties? So to me, that spells an upcoming bubble. Real estate agents will likely disagree with me and some of them will hate me for this. But honestly, there will be a point in time when a price is deemed too high and everything will start adjusting downwards. I mean, I just look at Tokyo, Hong Kong, the States, Europe, and now all the major cities in China. Property prices have been rejected by their domestic market because they are regarded as way too high already. And without foreigners going in to buy, property prices will just have to drop. And my wife's, her name is Jessica, she's also a property agent, right? She kept reminding me that Shanghai property prices have crashed some 30 to 40% in the past year. And many who have invested in the recent years, they are all trapped. So from what I see how some property investors are overstretching themselves, right? I'm really super concerned that if our property price falls by just 10%, and with our rental yield being so low, I'm not sure how many of them can survive. So really, you can see that I am concerned about 2026, pessimistic even. So for those of you who read numbers or tell parts, right, tell me if you don't agree. And all this without factoring what many are saying that there is a AI bubble happening or crypto possibly crashing, perhaps even a worldwide real estate market drop. Anyway, I'm just a small business owner who could be stupid enough to read all the signs wrong. Now obviously, I'm not as learned, as well-versed in macroeconomics, or even as experienced in doing business as you. But I'm cautious. I don't like to take unnecessary risks, and I plan the worst at times. I am even prepared for my business to wind down sooner or later because video production isn't going to be a thing anymore in the future. But at least I'm laying a lifeline for myself. And nope, it's not to get a job because I'm at the age that no one wants to hire me. And it's not about collaborating with others anymore because it seems like most people are just ultimately looking out for themselves. and some unscrupulous people take advantage of my kindness to help them for their own gains. And no, it's not venturing into other countries because I still have family here. But you want to know what that is? Well, you probably know already if you have followed me for this year. But perhaps, if you are really keen to know, I'll put out another video soon for that. Okay? Please subscribe.